Sugar is bad, right? Well, maybe it's not that simple. And that's what I'm going to try and find out in the coming week by diving headfirst into the sugar diet. So please join me on this journey of science, sweetness, and self-discovery. So what is the sugar diet? Well, the sugar diet, also known as the honey diet, is a diet plan popularized by an anonymous internet biohacker by the name of Anabology. The diet is fairly simple. From waking until 3 p.m., you get to indulge in as much sugar as your body can handle. Honey, maple syrup, fruit, soda, or straight up table sugar. The key is to avoid all fats and all protein. There's actually some science behind that, but we'll get into that in just a minute. Once 3 p.m. hits, you cut off all food and fast until 7 p.m. Once dinner hits, you can have some starches, some vegetables, and some lean meats. The idea for the final meal is to once again keep the fat really low, but the protein and the carbs moderate. The theory is that this process is going to turbocharge your metabolism, and it's going to cause you to burn way more calories than you could possibly consume. So it's not breaking the laws of thermodynamics, it's revving your engine up so it just burns way more fuel. I started by checking my morning blood sugar, and then I kicked my day off with 100 grams of straight horse honey in my coffee before my leg workout. Horse honey is just unfiltered, unprocessed, unpasteurized honey that technically isn't fit for human consumption because it may contain bee particles. It doesn't really bother me. This workout was a lot longer and harder than normal, and I definitely felt like I had a little bit extra horsepower. I made a quick fruit smoothie with raspberries, orange juice, and just regular old table sugar, and then I was off to work. Throughout the day, I snacked on grapes, dates, dried papaya, and an additional 250 grams of horse honey. First day of the sugar diet, going great so far. The morning was awesome, had a ton of energy, just felt like clean, focused, energetic, like I just wanted to keep moving, keep doing things all day. Finished my last bit of sugar at 2 p.m., so that's about 2 hours ago now. I think I may have overdone it just a little bit with the papaya, the dried papaya. It was probably just a bit too much fiber to dump in my gut all at once, but the morning with just all the sugar honestly felt fine. A ton of energy, no crash yet. And I waited 30 minutes, like 45 minutes after eating my lunch, and my blood sugar was already lower than it was this morning. Kind of crazy. But no more eating till dinner. We got a big workout tonight as well, so let's see how we perform. Well, I don't feel particularly energetic anymore, but I definitely don't feel like I'm crashing yet. Time to go train, see how we feel. So why does this diet work? Well, I'll link Anabology's full breakdown of the diet in the description, so definitely check that out, but I'll try and give you the cliff notes here. The theory is that this all works because of a little hormone known as FGF21. FGF21 plays a crucial role in regulating energy homeostasis. It turns up your metabolism and causes you to burn more calories. This hormone is released by the liver in the presence of high fructose and very low protein. This is done to protect the body from the negative effects of excess calories, such as fatty liver disease or type 2 diabetes. And this actually makes sense evolutionarily. There would be times in human history where we only had access to high sugar foods with very low protein. Imagine an early human coming across a stockpile of sugar. Something along the lines of a beehive, a mango tree, or a massive patch of ripe blueberries. Any hungry human can easily put away a couple thousand calories of pure sugar. I myself once ate over 6 liters of blackberries during a 3-day survival challenge. Check that video out. And that early human would consume all of those calories without hitting their minimum daily protein requirements. And because protein is one of the key factors in satiation, the person eating wouldn't get full until they were way above their calorie requirements. That's where FGF21 comes in to save the day. It ramps up metabolism and protects the body from the negative effects of excess calories. Not only that, but the increased metabolism would encourage the hungry human to put those calories to work and go out and find a good source of protein. Great session, had a ton of energy, felt light, felt nimble, felt energetic. Time to get some protein in me. Well, it's been a successful first day of the honey diet. Just finishing off the day with this protein shake, skim milk protein, splash of honey, some strawberries. It's a great day. Tons of energy. I'm excited for day number 2 tomorrow. On day 1, I ate 3,936 calories with 827 grams of carbs, 102 grams of protein, and 39 grams of fat. I woke up after a super restful sleep, and I started my day off with 200 grams of carbs in the form of honey and straight up sugar. I had another supercharged workout, and after that, I checked my blood sugar and it was all the way up at 10.2. But just 2 hours later, when I checked it at work, it was down to 5.0 again. Today, I decided to break up my sugar intake a little bit and have it in the form of meals instead of just grazing all day, because I wanted to see how that would affect my blood sugar. For my first snack, I had 125 grams of honey and 200 grams of dates. 1 hour after that, my blood sugar was around 6.2. At lunch, I had another 125 grams of honey, grapes, and an apple. I stopped the carb phase a little bit early at just 1:30 p.m. with 2,300 calories and 618 grams of carbs. And just 30 minutes after eating that last meal, my blood sugar was back down to 6.2. My energy was pretty high for the rest of the afternoon, but I did start to notice some interesting effects. Many times in my life, I've experienced the symptoms of what some might call ADHD. And what I noticed on this diet is that those symptoms were kind of kicked into overdrive. When I felt interested in something, I was hyper-focused and obsessive, like I couldn't think about anything else. But when I was doing something of low interest, my thoughts were running a million miles a second. Now personally, I've seen this effect as more of a benefit than a problem in my life. When my brain is unfocused, I feel like I can multitask insanely well, and I feel super creative. And when I'm ultra focused, I can lock in and knock out huge chunks of work without even thinking about the time that's passing. So if you've ever experienced these symptoms, maybe try playing around with the sugar diet a little bit and see if you can toggle them like I was able to. The evening workout was good, but not great. And I did feel myself getting a little bit irritable as the night went on. I think that was because I stopped the sugar phase just a little bit too early on this day. So, here's my dinner. 400 grams. 400 grams of chicken stir fry made by my beautiful wife. And for a bit more carbs, I'm gonna have these rice cakes. Plain flavored. Just finishing off the day with this protein shake, feijoas, honey, skim milk, a little bit of protein powder, a banana, and some frozen strawberries. Again, it was a pretty great day. You just have that extra spark for life when you're high on sugar all day. But the only thing today is that near the end of my jiu-jitsu class and on my way home before I had dinner, I started feeling like I was crashing pretty hard, like I was getting pretty exhausted. Now I finished eating lunch today at around 1, so I think I'm gonna try and extend my eating window a little bit, maybe up until 4 o'clock, have a little bit of fruit before I go to training. But other than that, the diet's been great. One interesting thing, I have zero cravings for coffee or caffeine anymore. Not that I had crazy ones before, but usually when you're having a slow day or you kind of get that lull in the middle of the day, you're like, it'd be great to have a coffee right now, a little pick-me-up. But just don't feel that at all. Just have a ton of energy first thing in the morning, in the afternoon, all day. On day 2, I ate 3,629 calories with 820 grams of carbs, 120 grams of protein, and 20 grams of fat. The biggest thing I noticed this morning was my sleep. I slept like a rock, and despite having 2 previous days of hard workouts, I didn't feel sore at all. I crushed 100 grams of pure sugar and went for a bonus workout. Wednesday is usually a day I swap out the gym for a sauna session, but I felt so good, I had so much time in the morning that I had to get in there and put in some work. I had a quick post-workout sugar shake and packed my lunch with honey, dates, bananas, and bocadillos, which are a Colombian snack made of dried guava and sugar. Today I decided to go for the grazing approach again. Just eating when I felt like it and not forcing anything. Just keeping the sugar high and letting things flow. I also opened up my eating window today and kept eating all the way until 4 p.m. Pretty crazy. It's only day 3 and I'm already on to my 2nd tub of horse honey. I'm gonna go work out in about an hour. I'm gonna smash this plate of rice cakes. Drizzle a little honey on top. It's gonna be great. The workout felt a lot better today, and overall I just felt more consistent energy levels. The purpose of cutting off the sugar by 3 p.m. is to give yourself enough time to burn through all that blood glucose before you start eating your protein and your fat. However, in my case, since my hardest workout is around 5 p.m., I think my body's more than capable of burning through that sugar, and eating closer to my workout just gives me that extra energy so I can push that much harder. Well, I had a great big dinner, kept the protein super low tonight, so we'll see how that change affects. Try and ramp up that FGF21 even more. And honestly, I'm super excited to get to bed because I've just been having the most peaceful and relaxing and regenerative sleeps lately. On day 3, I ate 4,382 calories with 1,059 grams of carbs, 52 grams of protein, and 23 grams of fat. My sleep was a little bit too good this morning, ended up sleeping through my alarm and had to train fasted. I had a great session regardless, and no leg day is complete without a push-up gauntlet at the end. For breakfast, I decided to go back to my roots and have a berry smoothie with a big splash of maple syrup. This was delicious, and I also whipped up a sugar lemon electrolyte drink for my day at work. Man, starting my day off with sugar like this feels pretty dang incredible. This is pretty similar to how I was feeling on the all fruit diet when I did nothing but fruit for a week. The only difference is on the fruit diet where I was going wrong is I wasn't nearly getting enough calories. With the honey and maple syrup, it's just way easier to actually pack in those calories. And also, I was having that coconut yogurt, which had a ton of fat in it. So I think that was kind of slowing down the whole sugar response. But so far in this diet, I'm feeling pretty great. And the maple syrup was a nice touch this morning. The biggest difference on this diet is that with the lack of protein and fat in the morning, I'm not experiencing a sugar crash. During my 1 meal a day video, one of the mornings I had a massive breakfast. I had orange juice, maple syrup, and a ton of protein and fat mixed in as well. And I actually almost fell asleep on my way to work. But these days I'm having double, if not triple the amount of sugar first thing in the morning, and I'm having smooth, clean energy all day. My day continued as normal, snacking on dates, grapes, and half a pound of horse honey. I finished up the sugar portion at 4:30 p.m. with 2,797 calories and 710 grams of carbs. This fueled another great workout, and one of the craziest things was that despite my low protein, I wasn't feeling sore at all. Personally, I think this is probably a combination of the excellent sleep quality as well as the small amount of protein at night. I'm just hitting my minimum requirements. And that's really the biggest change from when I tried the fruit diet. On only fruit, I definitely felt a lack of recovery. But it just goes to show that even though many experts recommend 1 gram per pound of body weight, which may be scientifically optimal, the body probably only needs a fraction of that. I finished off the night with some chicken, rice, and salad, and then some rice cakes and berries with maple syrup for dessert. On day 4, I ate 4,080 calories with 926 grams of carbs, 83 grams of protein, and 13 grams of fat. Day 5 started with honey, lemon, and pomegranate juice, and that kicked off another killer workout. That's a wild combination. My breakfast was another bowl of berries and maple syrup, and I loaded up another lemon tea, but this time I packed it full of maple syrup, and that made a big difference. Doesn't matter how much maple syrup you put on, it doesn't really get too sweet ever. Delicious. Life is so good. How great is it? I was feeling so good, but surely this much sugar was gonna give me diabetes. And that seems to be what the research is saying. Unfortunately, there hasn't been many studies on a high sugar diet in the absence of fat and protein. There have been a few rodent studies where they had rats living solely off of Coke, and that didn't end too well for them. But I don't think anyone is gonna be suggesting a Coke-only diet for life. But it does make me think of that girl from that show My Strange Addiction who would crush like 30 cans of Coke a day and was somehow rail thin and didn't have diabetes. The thing is, my insulin response seemed to be better than ever. Despite crushing 1,200 calories of pure sugar for breakfast, just 90 minutes later, my blood sugar was back down to 4.8. The problem is that every study out there demonizes sugar, and maybe that's for a good reason. But it's pretty difficult to find any positive studies on the effects of this kind of style of diet, but the internet seems to be full of positive anecdotes about this diet, especially when it comes to weight loss. It would be really interesting to see a legit study on this style of diet, because it does seem like hacking into this FGF21 mechanism would have some really positive effects, especially if you're having that extra protein meal at night to offset some of the detrimental effects of a low protein diet. FGF21 has been shown to be protective against diabetes, insulin resistance, and fatty liver. But it also makes sense that you could develop a resistance to the FGF21 hormone, just like anything else. For the past week, I've been overfeeding and doing this diet to the extreme as a way of sort of stress testing it. So I don't think this diet is forever, but what diet is. But I am, however, already working on a more reasonable version of this diet for long-term use. I had a good day at work knocking back my usual honey and dates, and today I added a can of fruit and an apple for lunch. Well, it's Friday afternoon, all done work. Time to get a little bit wild. Time to let loose. Classic Coke. Nothing like Coke on a Friday night. I was feeling pretty amped up for another workout, so I decided to go out and do some sprints. Thank you. We were going out for dinner this evening, and I ended up finding a pretty reasonable chicken burger that had 30 grams of protein and 17 grams of fat, and I was even able to sneak in a few sweet potato fries. At home, I was still hungry, so I whipped up 2 chicken wraps for myself. It's been a wonderful and satisfying day of eating. Finished it off with a few rice cakes. Day number 5, great success. On day 5, I ate 4,480 calories with 973 grams of carbs, 75 grams of protein, and 38 grams of fat. Day 6 started with 100 grams of honey, and I decided to mix it up with a coffee before training. I also whipped up an extra electrolyte juice that I boosted with an extra 100 grams of sugar. I went for a walk to the park for some push-ups and pull-ups. The workout was feeling great, but it was now day 6, and I started to think back on all the pounds and pounds of sugar I had consumed so far. Horse honey, juice, Coke, dates, straight up table sugar. Surely this couldn't be healthy. One fear on this diet is that I might become insulin resistant, which would mean even when my body is producing insulin, I'm not properly disposing of all the sugar. The main causes of insulin resistance are excess body fat, poor sleep, elevated cortisol, and physical inactivity. The good thing about this diet is that it helps with each one of these. There are hundreds of anecdotes of people losing weight on this diet, and personally, I've been eating sugar like a mad dog for the past week, and my weight's pretty much stayed the same. My sleep has also been incredible, and eating carbs has been shown in many studies to lower cortisol levels, which is probably one of the biggest factors to why I'm getting such a good sleep as well. And obviously with my metabolism cranked like it is right now, physical inactivity is not an issue. I feel like I can't sit still and I need to keep moving all day. Many people have used a low-carb diet to fix insulin resistance. And since weight loss is the biggest needle mover in that situation, if low carb helps you lose weight, then it's doing the job. But if you think about it, the opposite of insulin resistance is to be insulin sensitive. So it kind of makes sense that you would have to train your body to be sensitive to carbs at some point, and avoiding them altogether might not be the best strategy. Another thing I've been thinking about is that when you hear the term blood sugar spike, my brain instantly thinks it's a negative thing. But if insulin is the storage hormone, meaning that its main function is to store fat, then wouldn't it make more sense for you to want a short spike and then quickly return back to baseline rather than a long drawn out insulin response? Because that seems like it would have you storing fat all day. I don't have the answers to these questions, but it's definitely something to think about. All right, 600 push-ups and 100 pull-ups. If that doesn't get me sore, this diet is magic. Back from the park, I knocked out a bowl of berries with maple syrup, and then 45 minutes later, I had a fruit cocktail with added sugar and some red grapes. My appetite was absolutely firing because right after that, I whipped up some homemade honey mustard and made a salad with lettuce and red pepper. I was heading out for dinner and a comedy show with some friends tonight, so for a snack I loaded up with a bunch of sourdough bread with jam and honey and some rice cakes on top of that. At dinner, I kind of went off plan because I ordered a big greasy burger with fries and I had a Coke at the show. But it didn't even really matter because it was still only about 60 grams of fat total and I hadn't had any other fat all day. On day 6, I ate 4,893 calories with 1,034 grams of carbs, 65 grams of protein, and 60 grams of fat. Despite eating nearly 5,000 calories the night before, I still woke up without having gained any weight. For breakfast, I had a big bowl of blueberries and strawberries with maple syrup and a honey tea. I also prepared an electrolyte drink with 100 grams of sugar and a bunch of juice to bring with me for a workout. This morning I was meeting up with my friend at a massive staircase. We ran up and down 10 times and did 100 pull-ups and 200 push-ups. I was so surprised that the 600 push-ups from the previous day felt like they had no effect on me. This workout was an hour and a half long. We were completely destroyed, so we decided to go fuel up with some Korean food after. I started off with a Sunkist and ordered a massive rice bowl with rice noodles, kimchi, some vegetables, and extra rice on the side. And it was kind of a bit of a lazy day after that. I had a kilo of watermelon with salt and maple syrup, and then a little bit later I had some blueberry sorbet. For dinner, I prepared a roast beef shoulder and had some rice and salad with it. I loaded up on the rice and kept the meat down to just 150 grams, and I ended up having 2 of these plates. On day 7, I ate 4,580 calories with 887 grams of carbs, 82 grams of protein, and 51 grams of fat. Well, there we go. 7 days on the sugar diet. Pretty incredible diet. Spent the past week eating well above my maintenance calories. I'm usually having like 2,500 to maybe 3,000 on a big day. I was eating well above that, almost up to 5,000 some days, 1,000 grams of carbs, and I just had a ton of energy. Workouts were better. Overall, life was better. And I mean, this stuff, it's great. Like, there's no reason to be scared of sugar. It's a naturally occurring thing. It's definitely like, it's not a drug, it's not addictive. You don't need to be scared of this stuff. It's part of life. And you know, it's something that you can use just to like enhance your performance. I think sugar has really been demonized in the nutrition world. People just immediately assume it causes diabetes, it's gonna cause all these health issues. But honestly, in the past week, I've seen no negative health effects whatsoever. And like I said, it's not a drug, it's not addictive, there's really no problems with it whatsoever. And yeah, I love this new lifestyle. I don't think I'm ever gonna stop. Over the past week, I consumed over 6.5 kilos of carbohydrates for an average of 932 grams of carbs per day. I averaged 4,282 calories a day, which is around 1,500 calories more than my normal diet. And my body weight stayed pretty much exactly the same. My body composition didn't really change, but you can't really expect much over the course of just 7 days. The main benefits that I found were the increased energy, the increased workout quality, better workout recovery. I didn't feel sore once. I also didn't have the feeling that I wanted or even needed caffeine. My sleep quality was just insane. I had the freedom to eat something satisfying pretty much whenever I wanted to. It was a great feeling to just be embracing sugar rather than being scared of it, and I just felt like I had a general positive outlook on life throughout this challenge. This experience really made it seem like a masochistic diet is not the answer. The only real downside that I found was having to force down like 1,000 grams of carbs each day, but I was only really doing that to stress test this diet and really try and activate that FGF21. Going forward, I will definitely not be forcing calories on this style of diet. Some of my long-term concerns are the effects on my teeth. Is this going to cause cavities, this much sugar? The effects on my insulin response. Am I eventually going to become insulin resistant? And then there's the potential resistance to the FGF21 hormone. So these are a lot of unknowns, and that's the reason I won't be going this hard on the sugar for long term. So would I recommend this diet? No, I would never recommend any diet to anyone. I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist for anyone except for myself. This has been a really eye-opening experience for me and definitely changed the way that I see sugar. I'll be taking a lot of principles from this diet and adding them into certain days of the week going forward. For a long time, there's been that only fruit until noon diet, which has been really popular. And a lot of people have found great success with that style of diet, and I think something like that is probably on the cards for me. Maybe I'll make a video about it as well. I do think our society has a sugar phobia, in the same way that it has a saturated fat phobia. Sugar isn't bad, fat isn't bad, and protein isn't inherently good. Every nutrient can be good or bad depending on the situation. And the same goes for every food. Timing, food combinations, and context have a huge impact on how different foods affect us. There are situations for a carnivore diet, and there are situations for high sugar. There's no one-size-fits-all diet. You have to find what works for you and continuously grow and adapt your diet depending on your age, situation, and lifestyle. Or maybe none of it really matters at all. Thanks for watching.